Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carey. In the comments yesterday, Ashley asked if I could make an episode about losing weight in your 50s. Specifically, she asked, can you do one about losing weight over 50 and never giving up? So I started writing a brief response to her comment, and then it became a very long response to her comment. And I realized that I could just share it with her here, and then you could also be privy to my thoughts. So if that's at all interesting, I hope you'll stick around because talking about weight and health and confidence and being over 50 in the dating world, that's what's on the agenda. I'm not an expert on losing weight or fitness. I'm not a dietitian or a doctor. Pretty obvious, I'm not a fitness expert or a fitness trainer. So much of this is going to be do as I say, not as I do all the time, that kind of a situation. I am, however, a woman over 50, and I'm a dating coach and a matchmaker who's had hundreds of clients with similar struggles, and we talk about that. I'm always reluctant to having conversations around weight because there is no one size fits all answer to health. It is just unique to each and every person as to what their journey might look like. Of course, I want everybody to be healthy and feel their most confident, which is why I haven't completely ignored the conversation on the channel. I did make an entire episode on being overweight and dating. I think it was called Overweight, Should I Date? And I think I even made an episode about, I clarified that, hey, I'm no expert, but I offered my one diet hack that's served me well in case it could be useful to somebody else. And that was whenever I have the urge to just randomly snack on something, when I know I'm not really hungry, I brush my teeth. If you're like me, something sweet or salty just seems much less appealing once you have a minty, fresh mouth and clean teeth. My daughter actually reminded me that my other tip is one that she still practices. And that's that when we have some type of a craving, and it really just doesn't make sense because, well, maybe we literally just finished dinner an hour ago. The tip is to eat something like a pickle, tart, or for her, it's pepperoncinis, those tangy little peppers with a kick. My theory's always been that I'm not really hungry. It's just that my mouth is bored. And this is one way to either satisfy your bored taste buds or to tell your mouth to shut the heck up by torturing it with something spicy. So those two tips still stand, but a few months ago I started paying closer attention to what I was eating. And because the weather's nice, I've been more consistent in taking walks with Tallulah. So my health has been on my mind, and I figured the timing's maybe right, and I can share with you some of my thoughts on that. I'm not going to say what's best for you or what's right for you. I'm going to tell you what I've been doing to prioritize my health, and you can take that for what it's worth. As always, consult your doctor before doing anything crazy. I did want to mention that speaking about weight and our physical bodies makes a lot of people very uncomfortable, and I don't exclude myself from that group. I just never like to make sweeping generalizations, as you know, and I don't want to be misunderstood either, my words or my intentions. I think that we are all unique individuals and on our own journeys, and I don't believe that it's a one-size-fits-all conversation, pun intended. But with that said, I do believe there is one thing that is applicable to all of us, and that is that dating while you feel you are overweight really comes down to one question, which is about your confidence. If you're feeling sexy and very confident in your current package, comfortable in your own body, get your tush out the door and start meeting people. That's one of the most important pieces to this conversation when it comes to meeting new people. But that's not all that the title promised. So I will share with you here some of my thoughts. And then don't miss my 5 tips at the end. I think they're the icing on the cake, actually. Trust me, I understand how hard it can be putting yourself out there when it often feels like we're being judged. So let's throw this back on my clients briefly because many of them come to me with this one particular question. Should I start dating now? Or should I wait until I'm at my ideal weight? And I ask them all the same question. What's your confidence doing? I think that's your starting point and what you need to ask yourself to determine whether you should create that profile. take that dance class or check out that speed dating event. Because if we're being honest with each other, and that's always my goal here, there's probably no point putting yourself out there if you feel like crap or you're going to be hiding in the corner and you don't even want to be seen. And you'll be maybe meeting people that would be great for you down the road a bit when you are feeling more comfortable, and now they've met you at not your best. So that's something to think about. Just a little heads up, I'm not telling you to stay home. I'm telling you you need to get your head straight. I've had clients who might be very similar in body type to one another, but who feel completely different about their bodies and therefore have completely different experiences. Trust me, it's not based on weight, it's based on attitude. It's not about a number on the scale or a dress size. It's about how you feel about yourself. So I'm encouraging you to check yourself and what you're saying to yourself. How are you talking to yourself about your body? Are you being kind? Are you loving yourself as you should, despite whatever extra weight might be tagging along with you at this moment? You know, isn't it interesting how some of us can be so supportive and loving to a friend, but not give ourselves the same courtesy and care? That's kind of crazy. Let's stop doing that. I think it's also important that we realize that, sure, people notice what we look like. But for a lot of people, the way we carry ourselves, the way we present, the way we show that we are confident, that's what people really notice first about us. And that's often their takeaway, too. I know for a lot of women over 50, this is difficult. We grew up in a very different time when the conversations around this weren't nearly as healthy as they are now. We weren't taught the things that we now try to pass on to younger women. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the mistakes that I made over the years before I knew better. I'm better now because I know more. So I really try to do a better job in the way I talk about my own body and the body of like other women. But if you're still stuck in that 1970s vibe where it was all so, black and white and there wasn't much room for gray, which is kind of where most of us hang out nowadays and in so many areas of our life, including our body positivity, well, then I encourage you to get with it. Especially for your own mental health, please do a better job of being your own cheerleader instead of a critic. Let's talk a little bit about my understanding of getting and staying healthy. And I'm stressing my understanding because it's only based on what I think and what I believe and what makes sense to me. If you're all squared away on what it takes for you to be the best and most healthy version of yourself, please feel free to skip ahead. If not, I'm going to talk about taking care of the bodies that we're in. And this little portion here, I'm going to talk to my over 50 gals in particular for a sec because that's what Ashley asked for, and it's where I'm at. I want to share that walking is a fantastic way to keep your body moving. If you're someone who's going to the gym 7 days a week and have a better body than you did when you were 25, I applaud you enthusiastically. Me, personally, exercise was just never my thing. The gym and I are not at all well acquainted. I mean, I've always owned and used free weights at the house here, and I've taken classes like step classes back in the day, aerobics classes on rare occasion throughout the years. But walking is your friend. If you're over 50, you don't have to be fit to start. You don't have to be skinny. You don't have to be young. You don't have to be anything except willing. And if you can walk 15 minutes from your door every day and then find your way back home, I think you're killing it. And if you have a dog and this isn't even optional for you, all the better. It gives you a secondary purpose. Now, if you have an exercise bike or a treadmill or like my brother, an elliptical machine, or if you're a runner, that's all fantastic. But in my book, you're an advanced fitness person. My goal is just to walk every day and keep everything oiled and moving smoothly. It's probably the bare minimum for anybody middle-aged who doesn't want to lose it as we age. Oh, speaking of using it or losing it, I think this might be a great time to introduce our new sponsor. I want to take a minute here to welcome Taboo, a new partner to the channel. I know there are women here, like myself, who aren't currently in a relationship. Some of us have chosen to embrace a single life for now, while others are still looking for someone fantastic before pursuing a physical relationship. What I learned is that there are repercussions for mature women who aren't maintaining an active sex life, and that's why I chose to partner with Taboo. Created by women, for women, their mission is to make sexual self-care feel as natural as our skincare and exercise routines. After a really honest conversation with her own mother about the challenges of sex and menopause, the founder of Taboo partnered with gynecologists, urologists, and pelvic floor physical therapists in order to create a truly gorgeous line of tools, not toys, to help maintain sexual well-being. The Golden Hour Kit, it includes everything you need to help address common symptoms, including dryness, low libido, a lack of body confidence, stress, things that often come up as our bodies go through very normal hormonal changes. The name isn't encouraging us to keep quiet, and that's why I'm not. We have to have these conversations with one another. So take a closer look at these really glamorous tools. Just check out the link in my description box below and make sure you use the code CAREY10 to get your 10% off when you take this first step to prioritize your sexual health. And remember, as my own mother likes to say, use it or lose it. Now, I've mentioned that I've always had weights at home, and I think that this is especially important as we get older. When I was younger, I liked the actual muscles, but everything I've read about maintaining what we've got for as long as possible says that strength training helps women maintain not just strong, toned bodies, but independence during the aging process. Most importantly, it prevents deterioration of your muscles, which could just turn to useless fat so easily if you ignore them. I mean, they're kind of like your teeth. If you ignore them, they'll go away. If you're somebody who thinks you'd be more productive at a gym, I'm not discouraging you. Go, 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 go. It's just that I'm the kind of person who's a hermit. And I don't even like leaving my house more than I have to anytime. So I do all my workout stuff at home and in my own neighborhood walking. I do stretching throughout the day, and I'm really just doing a simple weightlifting routine while I'm watching TV. That's just what works for me. I know that when my kids are at my house, they put on YouTube videos of a few fitness folks who have strength and flexibility training workouts that the kids really enjoy, and I'll sit on the sofa and watch them, and I promise that I'll give them a try. But I'm lazy, and I end up doing my same old that I started doing while watching Oprah Winfrey back in the day, all through the 90s. It's just now I'm doing it to episodes of true crime on YouTube. Anyway, at the minimum, walking. At the maximum, whatever you want to do above and beyond that, with a strong suggestion from me that you also include some weight training and stretching for flexibility. The other day, Mom and I were doing some calisthenics, and it made me think of Jack LaLanne. Remember? I don't know. It's neither here nor there, but I hadn't thought of that name in years or the word calisthenics. It was funny. Next stop, let's talk about eating, especially eating for a body that is middle age or beyond. My understanding is that if you want to lose weight, it's 100% about what you put in your mouth. Exercise is very important, and probably even more so as we get older, because we don't want to lose the mobility and the freedom that we have just because we've been alive for a long time. I, for one, want to continue to be able to walk on my own and be able to bend and lift and run if necessary for as long as possible. Exercise for sure burns calories, and it's a pretty smart move for a healthy heart and lungs, also for strength and flexibility. But the impact on your weight due to calorie burning can really only take you so far. If somebody's trying to lose weight, it's going to come down to what we eat. Now, I have no problem advising my family members on what I think they should be eating. I'm really obnoxious like that, but it makes me very uncomfortable telling anybody else what they should do because we're all so different mostly. And also, I don't want anybody to see me as bossy except my family. So I'll just share with you what I tell them maybe. And remember, this is just my opinion based on all the stuff I read. I'm no expert. This is the stuff that makes sense to me. So that's important to keep in mind. It's just me. As humans, I think we should be eating protein, a lot of vegetables, and fruit. I want to talk about the importance of protein, so important after 50. But first, I want to mention the things that we should not be eating. And this is not just my opinion. This is the for sure part of the episode. We should not be eating processed foods that are not even really food at all. Something I learned a long time ago was to try to avoid the middle aisles of the grocery store. The middle of the store is where they put all the processed stuff, full of yucky things like chemicals and corn syrup. If it's been baked, fried, or cooked in some way by somebody else, if it needs preservatives to stay fresh, if it contains words that you don't know, then that's not food, and we're not supposed to eat that. By the way, it's a lot cheaper, I think, to grocery shop when you shop the perimeter of the store, in my opinion, and quicker, honestly. Anyway, so protein. Protein is very important to maintain your muscle mass as you get older, and this cannot be overlooked. Article after article is saying that protein needs, especially for elderly, is so important. Too little can cause malnutrition and can increase an older person's risk for falls even and hospitalization. I wanted to make sure I pointed this out because if you have elderly parents, you might want to check in on them and how much protein they're eating. So many of them are skipping it altogether. And don't forget that eggs, and most especially cottage cheese, are great sources of protein. We all need a certain amount every day. The recommendations that I've been seeing lately are that we should be eating 1 gram of protein for every pound of your ideal weight. If you're, let's say, 30 pounds overweight, you can ignore those 30 pounds when doing your figuring. So let's say my ideal weight is 130. I should be eating 130 grams of protein every day. That's a pretty decent amount. So you're going to have to Google that and figure out what that looks like for you and how you want to achieve that based on the things you like to eat and how much these things have as far as protein. Now, when you hear the word protein, a lot of people automatically think of meat. So I just wanted to remind you that protein doesn't necessarily mean animal protein. There are other ways to get protein into your body, even if you're vegan or vegetarian, or just somebody who's avoiding eating animals because it's kind of gross and inhumane. I mentioned eggs and 1 dairy option, cottage cheese, but there are a lot of other things that have high protein to help you make it to your goal. Google high protein vegetables, and don't forget to look into the protein grams in servings of beans and legumes. I think we should also eat lots of vegetables. I don't even think that this needs to be measured, probably. My only attention to this is that I try to limit vegetables that immediately turn into sugar in my body. High glycemic vegetables like carrots and potatoes, mostly root vegetables, squash. The ones that are lower on the glycemic index and are packed with nutrients are the ones I eat most often. And for me, these are mostly cruciferous vegetables. Think Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, spinach. I should also mention that I probably have a salad for dinner 4 nights a week. A lot of times I'll even invite my mom over for dinner and we'll share a big, huge salad and maybe a piece of steak or a turkey burger or something. But I make this one that was inaccurately attributed to Jennifer Aniston a while back, and it's so delicious. I'll tell you what it is. Seedless cucumber, garbanzo beans, chickpeas, a little onion, I don't like too much, fresh mint, fresh parsley, pistachio nuts, feta cheese. I could eat that salad and kind of some variations on that all the time. It's a fun little creative project every night and sometimes a big surprise how it turns out. For me, I think the trick is that all of those ingredients are staples in my refrigerator and in my pantry. And then I think the only thing we didn't talk about here is fruit. And for the most part, fruit to me means berries, and probably berries. They're the best, and they help you eat your colors, as they say, antioxidants. And today, actually the last 2 days, Tallulah and I ate a watermelon. She never even liked it before. There are people who are worried about the sugar in fruit, fructose, a natural sugar, but sugar nonetheless. but I kind of think everything in moderation. I mean, how often am I buying a whole watermelon? Now, I have a couple tips, little tips for you, 5 of them actually. Number 1, it's just a side note here that nuts have protein, but mostly they have fat. And they've been the cause of weight gain for me numerous times in my adult life. So be cautious when you start thinking of almonds, pistachios, walnuts, cashews as a protein source. They can F you up big time, and they have for me. They're fat, they're calorie dense. 2, if you're not a person who needs a ton of variety in your diet, I find it really easy to eat the same thing for one of my meals every day. Yeah, I know I'm on a binge with that salad thing, but I do have variety with my protein, and it's different salads that I make. But like 85% of the time, I'll have 2 or 3 scrambled eggs, a piece of my Trader Joe's super bread toasted with butter, and a handful of berries, and I'm totally fine repeating that most days of the week. Occasionally, I might do something different like overnight oats, but for the most part, the same thing every day just works well for me because it's pretty mindless. I don't have to think about it, and I love those things. Plus, I feel really full afterwards, which brings me to my next tip. I have a late breakfast, so I don't eat lunch. I am not recommending this. It's pretty much based on my lifestyle and the hours I keep. And it might be better for me if I ate 3 meals a day, but the reality is I eat a late breakfast, that one that I described, and then I eat something for dinner about 5 hours later. So take your own lifestyle into consideration when figuring out how many meals and how many snacks, healthy snacks, you might need and what time you're going to eat them. Like when people say nothing after 7 p.m., I think, oh, holy cow, I'm going to be up for another 8 hours. That's just not going to work for me. Number 4, some people say sugar is poison. I don't know if that's true, but I do know for sure that it's addictive. Just go off of it completely for a month and watch how you suddenly stop craving it. I also believe that it leads to inflammation, which leads to heart disease, but this is just my opinion. I'm not a doctor. This is based on videos I've watched and books I've read. So I do remember, however, having been off of sugar for a decent period of time and then eating a piece of sugary birthday cake for one of my kids' birthdays. Afterwards, I put my head on my mother's lap on the sofa, and I literally passed out for the next hour. Some type of a carb coma. And that lesson kind of stuck with me, so that influences my thoughts on sugar. And then number 5, nobody's perfect. And even once you decide what's good for you and what you want to be eating, there are going to be times that you just don't. You might allow yourself to stray on purpose. And there are also going to be times that you cave into temptation. We're just human. For me, though, I think it's important to remember that just because I've made a less desirable choice on Friday doesn't mean I should keep making them until Monday. That's a mental trap that I've used as a loophole before, and it has never served me well, and I thought I'd share it with you. Okie doke, before I let you go, I want to say that I think that diet and exercise are important to your well-being and our longevity, but also our attitude should not be discounted. I really hope that you can be happy with this version of who you are and not wait for some perceived perfection before starting the next chapter of your life or taking steps towards what you want. You might want to check out this episode next. I appreciate you stopping by. So does Mom. So if you give her the thumbs up and subscribe before you leave, I'd really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you back here again soon. And until next time, have a good one.